I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Action from the closed session was just, actually that was a closed session. There was a bunch of report, and we moved moving information to item after item L as far as reporting out for closed session. So, okay, so we'll go now to public comment on agenda items and non-agenda items. This is the time and place to address the school board. State law prohibits the board from acting on issues not included on the agenda. However, requests may be made for discussion of specific topics at subsequent meetings. Upon recognition by the president of the board, please come forward and identify yourself before speaking. The Board of Education reserves the right to limit speaking time to 3 minutes or less per individual. You have some speaker cards. So I will start with Lori McLean.
Good evening, my name is Lori McLean. I know all of you, well, the majority of you. First, before I speak on the subject that I'm here for, I just want to do something real quickly that I feel I'm compelled to do. My dad, most of you know, or I know the majority of you know him, Hank Creel, or knew him, sat in your seats for 18 years. And I lived with him, of course, those 18 years, and I know that the time that it takes to do your job, the commitment that it takes, and in my opinion, the heart, because you have to love what you do, to give up all the time that you guys do. So I just wanted to say thank you. I may not always agree with you on everything, but I just wanted to say thank you, and I kind of did that in honor of my dad. So, okay. Now, the reason I'm here is for the Accelerated Reading Program, better known as AR, at the high school level. First thing I want to inform you of is I am not an opponent of it. I believe in it very strongly at the elementary level. At the middle school level, I also think it's not a bad thing. At the high school level, I absolutely don't believe it works. I know you've seen me here before about this subject, but what brings me back is an incident that just took place with my son on Friday. Brought it to light. So it made me think, I just want to come, have you guys see my face again, and know that it's not forgotten. We think the problem's still here. I'm sure you're aware that the policy has been looked at this year, and we appreciate that very much. It's more than we've had done in many years. I don't want to get into the specifics, but the grading changed a little bit. If you read at or below your grade level, it's 20% of your grade. At or above your grade level is 10% of your grade. That's the category my son falls in 10% of his grade. At back to school night, which took place in early September, I posed the question to the teacher. That's great. That's a start. That's in the right direction. But how is the 10% for my son? Where's that going to come from? The other kids are getting graded 20%, my son only 10. Her response to me, and I appreciated her honest response, was, we haven't figured that out yet, we're not sure. Okay, that's the last I heard about it. On Friday, my son approaches his teacher and asks when the last day is to take an AR test. Because he is a good student, he just was going to make sure he got all of his required points until they figured out how this was going to work. He was told Monday, this coming Monday, is the last day. And oh, by the way, I have something I need to tell the class, is what the teacher said. We have decided that you kids, that it's only 10% of your grade, you're only being required to get half of your AR points. The other half, if you choose to get them, will go towards extra credit. Okay, well that's wonderful, but this is being told to him 2 weeks before the semester's over. He is now over 20 points over the amount he really needed to get. Why didn't they tell us this information at the beginning of the semester, when they figured it out? Did not wait so long. So that's my point is, there's still a problem with it. There's no consistency, the communication isn't there, and I just want to say help. We still need some help. That's it. Thank you.
My name is Anna Lamillo, and I'm here to talk about the AR also. I have a daughter that's a junior in high school, and accelerated reader has been an issue in this school district for over 10 years. Parents have been begging the high school in particular to make this program more user-friendly and less punitive. Many student English grades have been affected as a result of AR as it reflects on the opportunity to college entrance. The program has been adjusted on and off over the years, never with much success. As a parent, I can never see an actual test nor see what is that my student is graded on, and yet it continues to be either 10% or 20% of the student's grade. In the case of the 20%, it counts more than the tests and quizzes, and it does not teach reading comprehension nor vocabulary usage. We now have a new superintendent who may or may not be aware of all the complaints that have been lodged by the parents in the community. What are our options? When will parents' issues be heard by this new administration? We need help in waiting, and waiting 10 years is totally unacceptable. We are requesting that parents have a meeting with Dr. Nishino or Michael Johnson so that our concerns may be heard.
No problem.
Thank you.
Is it them? I'm sorry, I can't get the first name. Andrede? Oh, Jen, I'm sorry.
Hello, my name is Jenny Andrade. I'm also here for the AR program. The reason I'm here is first my concern regarding my school AR program. I have a son in 9th grade, a son in 6th grade, and a daughter in 4th grade. My oldest have never had an issue in reading in elementary or middle school until he got to high school. He truly enjoyed reading and always met the AR points requirement. Now as a freshman, it's a different story, because it requires a lot more of their time and percentage of the grade is outrageous. How can this student jump from 20 required points in middle school to 100 a semester in high school? The school is taking the fun out of reading for the children, and that's what I don't want my younger two to experience once they get to high school. My two youngest children carry a book with them as well as my oldest son did before, and now I have to force him to read every night due to AR taking such a big role in his grade. Do his daily homework and stay active with sports. Make AR a reasonable amount of required points so that he could encourage, not get discouraged. And right before I came over here, I signed into Stangle because about a month ago, he needed 55. As of tonight, he needs 100. Why it jumped, I have no idea. And I emailed his teacher, but didn't get a response from her. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, Erica Huerta?
Good evening, my name is Erica Huerta, and I'm also here on behalf of the AR program. As a mother of twin boys, 9th grade, and 2 girls in elementary who happen to love reading, this is a program that actually worries me. Not so much at the elementary level, since children are being bribed with prizes for the most AR points. It does somewhat push the younger kids, but not the older ones. Both my son's grades have dropped, not 1, but 2 and 3 whole grades because of AR points. Last quarter grades, they were at a B, and they are now at an outstanding F due to the low AR points. Most of their work is at 100% scores, so none of it makes sense to me. My concern as a parent, it's hard to understand how AR is taking over English classes at the Fillmore High School. Reading is a skill. AR does not teach skill or strategy in becoming a better reader. It's a computer-based system that only checks students' learning level and identifies weaknesses. AR should not replace instructional time. High school students need academic reading and vocabulary development. For example, if they need to learn academic English, which includes vocabulary, syntax, grammar that is explicit and systematically taught, not by a computer. Students need to be exposed in the classroom where the elements of literature are being taught. Interesting lessons, questions are being generated, and innovation to talk and become a confident and competent communicator. This is what gives the skills they need in order to be successful students. AR program does not improve reading, but it gets students to read more Instead, Fillmore High School is pushing students by making AR 20% or 10% of English grade if they do not read at their grade level. Making AR 20% of their grade, students are faced with tough choices. For example, they spend more time reading for AR than they spend concentrating on other academic subjects. If students are required to meet state standards at their grade level, how does AR help them with computer-generated their reading level? All academic textbooks are at grade level. Should high school textbooks be modified to the students' reading level in order to assure understanding and success? Instead, we should have students read at grade level, support the comprehension with strategies, and give them the opportunity to apply their knowledge. I'm neither against reading or the AR program, but this has turned into a chore for many students, including my own. Excessive reading, it's pretty much quantity over quality, and it has taken the joy away from reading. I want my kids to continue to read, but please don't have a computer teach them how to improve their reading. I want them to learn the elements of English. Thank you. One more thing, the paper's being passed around, just several students. If you look at them, it shows that they have an overall good grade, and their AR, they have AR points, but they're at a F.
Kathy, ready?
Hi, my name is Kathy Liu, and I also teach at Sensory School, but I'm here as a parent. And I've sent letters before to the school board. I was here last May when this room was just packed with parents who have been questioning the AR program for some time now. My oldest son has already graduated from college, and we were concerned about this program back when he was a freshman in high school. So this has been going on many years, and I know the board knows that, and the newcomers have probably heard. My question on the program is the grade that the students are receiving. And it's been told that it's 10% or 20%. I'm not sure how that's going into Zango. Sounds like a little bit of a nightmare to try to do that. But we received reports saying it was as high as 40% at the beginning of the year, and I think they're working the kinks out. Last May, we were told, we had a presentation by somebody from the language arts department at the high school, and at that time we were told basically that it's used as part of the grade because there's a standard, a language arts standard, that says that students are supposed to be reading 1 million words outside of school time, and up to 2 million words, I believe it was, by the time they were a senior. So we questioned, how do the other schools that are not using this kind of program, how are they gauging that standard? Because we're using the AR program as that gauge. We didn't really receive an answer on that. We were very happy, the parents were very happy that some changes were made this year, but as you can see, there's still quite a bit of concern. I know at the elementary level, we've spent 2 years now going through the standards and saying there's so many standards for each subject level that we have to pick out those essential standards. So all of the elementary grades have worked with the 4 elementary schools, all the grade levels have worked together, picking out those essential standards. So my question is, I'm not sure how this one standard, which was told to us, that's the reason that it's being used as part of the grade, is being one standard out of all of them is being used as 10 or 20% of a student's grade. And is that one of the standards that the high school teachers have determined is one of the essential standards? Have they had an opportunity to look at other schools and see how that standard is being checked in other schools? Because we kept asking that last year, and really we did not receive an answer on that. So we just wanted that to be continued to look at before our kids grades continue going along.
Any further? We've gone through the cards here, and we will move on. We're now at the point for our organizational meeting, which we do every year. So at this point in time, I am going to appoint Dr. Nashino to serve as chairman pro tem until we elect our
Very dangerous
president.
word to gather in my name. Very dangerous. Okay. I would like to call for nominations for and second for the election of the board president.
I nominate.
I would like to make a recommendation.
Oh, okay.
Okay, that would move this along a little faster. I would like to present a slate to take care of all the election of officers. I would like to, if it's okay with you, Virginia, to nominate John as president, to nominate Dave Weil as vice president, and to nominate Lucy Rangel as clerk of the board. And
Well, technically, she's not the president. She's not-
Right.
no, I know, but she was going to make a motion, and I interrupted her motion.
Oh, yeah.
So I just wanted to.
Just told you out of order. Sometimes you get the gavel power and
That
overwhelmed.
gavel will move eventually.
So Sammy, watch out.
I'm going to stay with my motion and then
Well,
when.
that's what
That's
your
okay.
motion was made, and then we have a second, and we have
There
discussion.
was no motion made. She was attempting to
I was
answer
trying
her
to
motion.
make the motion.
Well, you're out of order. So.
She acquiesced.
Okay, then I make a motion to nominate Dr. Anita as president.
We have a second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
So that was 5-0.
Okay, do you want
Now, if you want to preside the rest of it, I'll let you do the
Yes,
rest.
please.
Okay.
You only got it for one motion?
One motion? Come on, give me a break. I know. Well, never had that in my hand.
Okay, so the next office would be the office of vice president of the board. I'm calling for a nomination.
I nominate, oops, go ahead.
I would like to nominate Dave Weil as vice president of the board.
I'll second.
I have a first and a second. Are there any further nominations for vice president of the board?
Move to close.
Okay, I have a motion to close the nominations. Is there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so we have one person up for nomination for vice president. That's Dave Weil. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, Dave, you're now the vice president. I'd like to open the nominations for clerk. Any motions from the floor?
I would like to nominate Lucy Rangel as clerk of the board.
Any a second for that?
I'll second.
Any further nominations?
Move to close.
Okay, I have a motion to close the nominations for clerk. Is there a second? I'll second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the nominations for clerk are closed. Now we're going to vote on the clerk. The nominations for Lucy Rangel as clerk of the board. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, great. So, thank you very much. Next, we have setting of the date, time, and place for regular board meetings. Regular monthly meetings are held on the first and third Tuesday of each month at 6:30 p.m. in the boardroom of the district administration building. Special meetings and study sessions are called as necessary. Board members, do we have any requested changes for the time and date? Everyone okay with that? And staff, Dr. Nishino, any input from your side on that? Are we good with that?
No, better than Monday.
Absolutely.
I had to change some board meetings to Monday because some of my boards wouldn't show up because it was Monday night football. Well, you would never have that.
Yeah. Get on.
Okay, so the next item then is the selection. We're not going to make any changes to the date and time and place for the meeting. The next item is selection of the school board representative on the county committee. So Lucy, you are currently serving in that capacity. It's a 4-year term. So unless you have a conflict with that, you're going to assume you continue. Okay, great. And the next one is the appointment of the ex officio clerk and/or secretary. So I'm going to hereby appoint Dr. Alan Nishino, district superintendent, to serve as ex officio clerk and/or secretary of the board of education, and to authorize Dr. Michael Bush, assistant superintendent of business services, to serve as the ex officio clerk and/or secretary in the absence of Dr. Nishino. Since it's an appointment, there's no vote required, and I still appoint the two individuals. The next one is appointment to Vision 2020 Steering Committee, 2 representatives and 1 alternate, 1-year term. Who's currently serving? I know it's not me. Who's serving them?
Tony and I.
Okay, so you 2 are currently serving?
And I'm
and
your
you're the
alternate, and
Has there been?
No, nobody, I contacted them,
I'd like to suggest then that Dr. Nishimura, if you could.
I'll second that.
Okay, see if we can either schedule a meeting or we're going to go and eliminate the position. Okay, next one is the appointment of the, to the Ag Advisory Committee. Currently, who is serving on that? You are? Dave? It's a 1-year term, so are you happy doing that?
Yeah, I think that's a great program.
Okay, great. Okay, so then we'll go and continue with you, Dave, in that position. Next one is, that's it for item H. We're moving on to item I, which is communications. Sammy, student representative report.
Okay, well, last Thursday, December 1st, we had Richard Parkhouse speak from Johnson, and he talked about being a leader and including everyone in our school and not just, the football players, ASB people, and reaching out to everyone in our school. And we also invited Santa Paula, their ASB, and those were 34 students from Santa Paula, and it was great. It was really nice. They were really nice, and me, Anissa Magdaleno, and Jenna Wilbur, we went to go welcome them. It was really fun because he made posters really quick. And they came in and we were like welcoming them. It was really fun, and we just all like bonded, and we were just like, I made a fool out of myself because they were doing this like game, and they're like slogans like for Nike, like just do it, and we say like Nike. Well, they said one, what can Brown do for you? And I said, oh, isn't that the president? And it was like, all of Santa Paula started laughing. I was just like, oh, wait, no, that's the governor.
In his dreams.
But that whole, we had Subway, and we had tables of like publicity, what the president does, and cabinet, and we just collaborated. It was a really great convention, and that was on last Thursday. We had a mini convention today with Mountain Vista. They have 4 people in their ASB, and we got pizza today. We discussed like what they do and what they could do to make their ASB better. And it was really neat to see the 5th graders, how they run their ASB, and their president got to run our meeting, our business meeting with our president today. And it was just really neat, and then we took pictures after, and so it'll be in the paper. So that was nice, and then we have our 10th week drive that started on November 28th, and it ends this Friday.
So do you have the same kind of leadership meeting with the middle school as well? You meet with those student councils?
Well, we're going to contact the middle school because what we want to do is have them elect freshman office when they go in, so when they go into high school, they're in office already. Because right now, we don't have freshmen for a month.
Okay, so elect them in the 8th grade, so when they come in, they're right on board.
They're right on board.
And, this is very interesting, and I think this is where leadership is built, is when we develop leadership early. And I think maybe you could make a suggestion to your sponsor that you try to do leadership with all the elementaries and the middle school. Maybe meet with them separately, then meet with them as a large group, and form some kind of continuity, so as they come up, they understand what the job or the role that they have in high school and the importance of it. It's a very important position that many of us who've been through it really don't understand and we don't appreciate. And if you could build that with our younger students so they can see that, I think we build capacity to build great leaders for this country.
That would be great. What I realized today was that they do what we do, just on a much smaller scale. So, yeah, that would be great.
Yeah,
Sammy, years ago, when Ms. Rangel's daughter was my president for 2 years, we used to help them run their election in the spring, and we used to do workshops for them, and the elementaries as well. Our kids used to go out to Pyro and the other school sites and help them out with things.
I'll definitely let my advisor know that. That sounds great.
Yeah, just be careful not to use the board member's name, because you're just trying to pile more work on it. Just be careful. I think leadership is something that we really need to work on in this country, and have people who, like Sammy, who take the job pretty serious and want to do a good job of leadership. And leadership is more than just being popular. Leadership has to be about training people to be leaders and to make tough calls when you have to make them. That's some things that I think we don't do all the time. So I'm looking at Sammy's haircut, so what a cool haircut, Sammy. I think I wish I had a haircut like that. Look at the haircut. You know, I wish I had a haircut like that. I couldn't wear that if my life depended on it. It's good on you. And it's going to be great to have you back next year as a senior. We're expecting really great things.
Well, thank you.
Okay, next item is the superintendent's report. So Dr. Yoshino?
We had the opportunity of the board to go and to the California School Boards Association workshops and meetings and sessions of what's going on in California and education as a whole. And for me anyway, it was relatively a good feeling to see that we're doing things for our children that are universal across the country that everybody's trying to do. And the ones that they showcased are the ones that are headed where we're headed, and the kinds of challenges and expectations that we have of our children and of our teachers and our administration and our board is what's making the difference in a lot of our districts in the state. So, and you do know that although we are one of the lowest per pupil funding, they expect us to be the highest in our achievement. And there is a correlation between, if you realize we have the lowest, one of the highest class sizes in the country. We have the fewest counselors, librarians in the country. We have the fewest resources in the country. We're near the bottom. And when you look at where we are academically, we're doing very well. Thank you for what we have been dealt in this state. We are one of the wealthiest states in the nation, yet we fund our children about 46th. We're funded 46th among the states in money behind each child. And it wasn't like that when I was going to school. We were in the top 4 or 5 in the nation. So that tells you what's happened. I won't tell how old I am. But that's what happened over time. And it's embarrassing to think that we as a state don't believe in our children enough to get behind them, to give them the education they deserve. So we will be talking about other things, because obviously the state and the nation is having a hard time balancing their budget. And we do a better job than they do, and we have income that's being we've been devastated with how much money they've cut education at the school districts over the last 5 years. Unbelievable. And so we thank our staff and our teachers for larger class sizes and still teaching our kids the best we can, for the kinds of programs that have been cut. You know, if this budget trigger goes and transportation gets cut by another 50%, they're really starting to look at drastic measures. And so I don't know what the answer is, but it's not the way we're going. So we'll take a look at what Fillmore believes the community deserves, and we'll be looking at that in the next several months. So in any event, I asked the board to give a report on just one of the many workshops that we went to that resonated with them on how we can provide better services for our children. And what is it that we think is of value to our kids? So I'll start with, does anybody want to volunteer first? No, very good, everybody.
Can everybody hear me? Since I taught school for 37 years, the teaching profession is something that I hold very high. I take a great deal of pride in that, and I know that teacher evaluation is becoming a huge issue across this country. And so I was interested in how we were going to do that, and do that professionally, and do that for the right reasons. So I went and on different occasions listened to 3 different school districts, staff from 3 different districts. One of them was Poway, which is down in San Diego, which has always had and still does one of the strongest educational programs in the state. And I also listened to some people from Campbell Union, which is up north, and also listened to people from Lucia Mar, which includes Morro Bay, San Luis Obispo, and so forth. And anyway, they all are approaching, some have this already in place, and that's why I'm speaking to you. Lucia Mar is functioning on what they call a TAP system, where teacher assessment is done for a number of things on the standards, teaching standards, but it's also done on summative assessment of the students. That was kind of scary to me when you start evaluating the teacher on summative assessments, because there are so many variables involved. I talked to those people afterward and so forth, and got a good feel for that. I also listened to Poway, and Poway does a lot of peer evaluation, and the union is really, really behind this, and their position is that they want to help teachers become better teachers at all different levels. You know, teachers that are struggling a little bit, help them become better teachers, average teachers, help them become, that's their whole philosophy, is to help teachers become better teachers. And if somebody is struggling in that area, the union is 100% behind working those people out of the system, telling them that, you know, there are probably other professions out there that might be more suitable. And that's pretty much what Campbell Union School District up north was doing. They do the same thing. In fact, they had a philosophy that was coach up or coach out. And the union was very, I mean, really involved behind this. And I was really, because, you know, as a past union member, I thought, well, what is the union thinking about this, you know, and all these different evaluating processes going on. But every one of those districts said the union was part of the planning and very much supportive, and was really instrumental in helping teachers become better teachers and helping weed out those who aren't getting any better, aren't getting better, you know, becoming better at their profession. So anyway, that's what I did. I had some other things too, but evidently, since we're being limited to just one, I have to keep my mouth shut.
Well, you can do it at the end of the board
Okay.
meeting. Everybody else goes. No. At the end of the board meeting, so we have to share. So, anybody, you see?
Okay, first of all, I feel very fortunate that we were all able to go, because in attending, Dave and I attended one day longer than the rest of the board as new board members. And, you know, just being reminded about what our roles and responsibilities are. And so I really appreciate the fact that we were able to have this professional development, because that's the one thing we want to provide for our staff too. And again, it's all about teamwork, as Dr. Nishino has said. You know, it's not just the teachers, it's the custodians, it's the secretaries, it's all of you, you know, parents, the community. You know, the one thing that I really, I mean, it's too bad that we kept hearing it, but all the districts are in the same boat we are. You know, the lack of funding. We're the one group that has been cut every year, and it makes it that much more difficult. But I know the one session that I was really impressed with, or felt I needed to get a little bit more information on, is the transitional kindergarten. Because that's something that we are going to be mandated to start next year. And we're fortunate enough that Chrissy Shefferly, their school, Mountain Vista, was piloting transitional kindergarten this year, because that's will be mandated. And what it is, it affects the students who have birthdays in the fall. Right now, I believe December 1st, Chrissy, is it? That is for the student to enter kindergarten, he has to have a birthday by December 1st. Well, for the next school year, it's going to be November 1st. And the year after that, it'll be October 1st. And then the year after that, it'll be September 1st. So then we're thinking, what are we doing for those 4-year-olds so that we can prepare them, get them ready? So the Senate Bill 1381, basically what it is, it's a 2-year program. The transitional kindergarten is the first year, and then the students transition into kindergarten. And it's for the students who aren't, you know, sometimes parents wonder, is my child ready for kindergarten? You know, so it doesn't necessarily mean that they're students that can't learn, but they just maybe need more hands-on type activities and so on. So that's something that we will be doing starting next year, and I'm very glad that that Mountain Vista did it as a pilot, because I think there's a few things I know that I got from this class that I'm going to give to Michael so he can share with Chrissy about it. It was a Washington Elementary School up in Kingsburg, California, that has been doing this for a couple of years now. So I'm hoping that that information will be helpful too.
One of the things that we're looking at is to be ahead instead of waiting for something to happen to us. We want to be ahead and be prepared before it happens to us. In education, they do things to us, not for us. They say it's for us, but it's actually to us. So our goal is to be ahead of what they're going to do to us, so we're prepared. So we'll have teachers, administrators be on committees, and that's our goal. Let's put them on the front end of what they're going to do to us, so that we're prepared, bring the information back, so we can start gearing up. So when it happens, you know, luck, it's no coach's cliche. Luck is where preparedness meets opportunity. So you need to be prepared so when the opportunity comes, you grasp it. Sometimes people call that luck, but many people are lucky because they're prepared to be lucky. And so part of the things we want to do as a district is be out front of what's happening, not wait for them to do something to us. So when it comes, we grab it and we're ahead. We're lucky that Chrissy's doing part of that now, but they were doing it 2 years ago. And that's Washington. That's where we want to be when we have things happen to us, that we're ready for it. And that's when you're a step ahead of everybody as opposed to trying to catch up with everybody. So that's part of what we're trying to do, and I think we're moving on that. We have a couple of our administrators applying and teachers applying for being on committees, on the state assessment, state curriculum committees, who will actually be able to give input as to what makes sense. And that's what you need. You need the people in the field that are giving the information of what makes sense and what can work. And so we're going to be out there so we can put our 2 cents in. We'll see how many committees we can get people on. It's hard on us at home, but in the long run, it's going to benefit every kid coming through the system. Sometimes you have a little delay, but at the end of the day, when years down the road, all those kids who are coming behind are going to benefit for the sacrifices we made in order to make that happen. And that's what we're about. So I wanted to just highlight what Lucy said, that this kindergarten, they used to have a thing called Ready or Not, Here We Come. You guys are all too young for that, but they had a thing called kindergarten, Ready or Not, Here We Come. So this is part of what we're trying to do for our district. All right, next.
Sure. I attended a number of workshops Thursday and Friday. The one that really impressed me the most was the one that was titled 21st Century Learning. This was a public-private partnership that was formed to expand project-based technology. And I'm reading that only because I want to get that point across. It's project-based. The one area that caught my attention the most was, and I want you to imagine this, a classroom this size, 5 round tables in the classroom, a kindergarten teacher who was very skeptical about this program going forward, 5 kids at each table. The kids are 4 and 5-year-olds, and each one of them is handed an iPad. This is a summer school program, 30 days, and the kids are, half the kids are EL, English learners. The other half are kids that already speak English, learn in English. They are given these iPads. The kids are 5 to a table. They work on their iPads 35 minutes per day out of a 2-hour session in summer school for 30 days. And they have the opportunity to use the iPad independently from the other 4 kids per table. Or they can work in groups of 2, groups of 3, groups of 4, groups of 5. The kids organize themselves in that time period. They have the teacher who's walking around the classroom facilitating, keeping order. After 20 minutes, the kids are allowed to get out of their tables and go to other tables if they choose to. When they have the iPad, they're manipulating the iPad either to learning to read, learning to write. Some of the applications are in caricature form. It's in game form. Some of it is very technical, in technical form, but the kids are understanding it on their own with very little direction. That's the interesting part. The kindergarten teacher was very skeptical about this program. She thought, it's not going to work. These kids are going to be independent learners. These kids are going to be working together without direction. Well, this program does a lot of research. It is research-based. The teachers are told to look at the research. How do students learn best? And they have found out through neuroscience that kids do most of their learning, they do their best learning from the ages of 3 through 6 years old. And then the next stage takes place when they're 13 to 18 years old. So we're talking about those early years, and then we're talking about the latter years in high school. In those 30 days, those kindergarten kids, their achievement went right out the window. It was tremendous. The kindergarten teacher who was very skeptical at the beginning, became a believer and began to understand, yes, the research behind how students learn best, it's true, and it works. And so it made a believer out of me. Now, this is a school district in Napa, in the Napa Valley. The idea is that they're going to be giving iPads to all their kindergarten students. And they're also going to be giving iPads to all their freshmen in high school. And they're going to begin to eliminate textbooks, because the information is in the internet. You don't need, according to what this program is about, you don't need textbooks to promote instruction in the classroom. There is so much information in the internet that teachers can grab whatever information they want. This is a sidelight, and I know I'm not supposed to go into the second one, but Khan, if you have any trouble with any of your kids in math or mathematics, arithmetic, go to
Khan Academy.
Khan Academy. It's in YouTube, and this kid is, not kid, he's a 30-something-year-old kid. He's tremendous, and his academy is tremendous.
He's a kid you can
Yes, 30 years by the time.
What happens to guys my age, Tony, after 18? I'm a little worried right now.
Well, that's the problem, you know.
You know, 25 years ago, and I think Tony's right, 25 years ago, we did a program called Writing to Read, where IBM came out with technology, and the kindergartners were actually typing stories. Part of the reason they couldn't do it before is because their fine motor skills, holding a pencil, wouldn't work. But if they were able to punch a key, and they were able to learn the alphabets, they could write stories. And we used to have the writer of the month, and they'd write their stories, and everybody, every grade level, 1 through 6, would put the writer of the month on the bulletin board in the cafeteria. You should read some of the things those kindergartners can do. They have no fear of anything. It's when we get our age, we start to worry about mistakes, we start to worry about, they don't fear anything. And that it's wonderful to watch them go out, especially boys whose fine motor skills, some of them like me never get there, but have really poor fine motor skills, and they can't write very well. And they use those big old pencils, right? It was perfect. And I'm worried about what Tony said, that something like this, sometimes the sustainability is impossible because of the funding. So we have to decide whether or not this is worth the effort to go forward. Now Napa, I don't think it's in the grapes, but whether we ever do it, but in Napa they have the Model Tech High School, and that generates from the high school, generates all the enthusiasm of using technology in different venues for different kids to reach them, some that can't do something some way. And so that's why I think they're able to build a culture. We want to build a similar kind of culture. We don't know what it's going to look like, but it's a culture of excellence in education. That people, anybody comes to Fillmore, they're going to get a world-class education. Whether there's technology, face-to-face with a teacher, because I still believe, when I was in charge of the Model Tech School in Wyoming 20 years ago, you give me a teacher, a good teacher with a piece of chalk and chalkboard, and they can teach. They don't need that technology. What the technology allows us to do is to reach more kids. One-to-one, a teacher with a piece of chalk can do magnificently. But you put 30 kids or 20, even 20 in the classroom, it becomes more difficult to give that attention. So I think we are going to hopefully put a foundation down, that all these things would be a part of the education of our kids from Fillmore in the future. We're working toward that. Right.
Virginia?
Mine was actually the same that Dave reported on, so I'm not going to bore by repeating, but just some of the common things that they were going on the evaluation, where I wrote some notes, just that they said that 95% of their achievement they felt came from the peer coaching, and having them, the graphs that they showed with the continuous climb in so many of the areas. But having said that, at the same time, they had a lot of ups and downs putting it together. It took 5-6 years, whatever it was. It just, you get it, you drop it in, and it's going to work for you. You have to work out the kinks. And so far, I'm hopefully it will work for us. But it was exciting, and like I said, Dave gave pretty much more details, so I would just be repeating what he said. And the other one was this one, and he has it, so.
Yeah, so I attended obviously all the sessions, many sessions as well, but the one that struck me the most was a presentation given by the superintendent of Whittier High School, Union High School District. They have 7 high schools in their district, and they have 80% Hispanic population. They have very high, the percentage was 62% receiving free or reduced lunch. So very similar demographics to what we have. And yet, over the last 12 years, they've had tremendous API growth at their high schools. And what they did basically are a lot of things that we're currently putting in place here in Fillmore. And one of the things that the superintendent spoke about was the importance of getting the level of instruction, improving the level of instruction for across the board for all of their teachers, collaboration between the teachers that teach the same subjects, and also discussion between, for example, English teachers at the high school discussing things at the lower levels of the high school. And they also had collaboration with their elementary school district. So it was not just a matter of the high school working in isolation. They worked very closely with the schools below them to make sure that the students that were coming up were receiving the right instruction. So it was just it was an excellent presentation. I can't go into all the technical details that they gave us about how they put the program together, but I can tell you that many of the things that Dr. Machino is doing, along with Michael Johnson, it's the same types of things that we're seeing here in Fillmore. And so I'm really excited by the fact that many of the things there are mirrored here in Fillmore. I think there's some other things that we can take away from as well from Whittier, and it was very good. It was a very good program. Virginia and I commented that we've been to some of these conferences in the past where we didn't necessarily get that much out of it, but I think with all the pressure that's going on to the schools, there were just a tremendous number of really innovative and really good programs for board members. So I'm glad we went.
The funny thing too is while this was being presented, they would say something, and it would be something that Dr. Machino is starting to implement here, and I turn around and look at him, and he just had this big grin. I'm sitting there going, come on, this is what you're doing.
Exactly.
So it was great because it made it even more exciting because we knew we were following, and we just see all the improvements that were being made.
It was very encouraging.
Very encouraging. So, okay.
That's the board member reports. Is that it for your superintendent's report?
Yeah, I think they're
good to go.
They're good to go.
Okay, great. And we're on to item J, consent items. We have items on the consent agenda are considered routine and will be enacted by a single motion. None of the items will be discussed unless a board member or a member of the audience requests discussion. We have 3 items on there, so anybody need to report anything? Okay, I need a motion to approve. Okay.
Second.
Tony, you have a second? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, it's unanimous, 5-0. We're on to item K, 4. Approve request for overnight field trip from Joe Rickards for students to attend the California FFA and State Ag Staff Development Made for Excellence and Advanced Leadership Conference on January 26th and 28th in Monterey, California. I need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, so first and second. Any discussion? Yes?
No, just a little briefly, Joe, this you've gone to prior?
Excuse me?
have we done this trip prior? I know you've been taking.
Yes, we didn't go to
trips, I'm
Monterey
trying to-
last year.
That was-
They've gone to Visalia, San Luis Obispo. What happens are, we're in South Coast region, and they're doing it up in Monterey this year, so.
Oh, I
Oh, you poor thing.
Yeah, I know. But the good thing is that the kids want to do is after we go on a field trip, they will let them go at noon on Saturday. They want to tour the Monterey Bay Aquarium.
Yeah.
They want to see stuff with them.
It's been great. Thank you so much for
All right,
doing this.
thank
I
you.
know you do this a little bit more even so than probably.
Thank you. I gotta go to
You gotta go to another meeting.
another meeting.
Okay.
Okay, no further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, it's 5-0.
Right, thank you.
You bet.
Okay, item K5, approve request for overnight field trip from Kimberly to Foya for cross-country team to attend Clovis International on November 25th and 26th, 2011 in Preston, California. That's kind of in the past.
Yeah, this is about. How do we do?
He did really good. They got 14 out of. They did really good.
So we're approving this.
We'll put it in, it should be, yeah, it's
Retroactive.
Here's what happens. You don't know if we're going to go to the playoffs, it's usually a lot, so next year, we will have field trips submitted early on possibility of people going to playoffs, so that we can get this in line, so they don't have to do it. They already have it approved. Okay.
Okay, I need a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, no discussion. And then, all those in favor? Opposed? 5-0. Okay, item K6, approve revised job descriptions for shipping and receiving clerk. I need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All three of you second?
You were-
Dave, you were first?
Dave.
Okay.
No, I did it first. These two were.
Yeah, first and second, no, he was the first one, we get the second. So, okay, all right. Any discussion on that?
Tony and Dave. Tony and Dave.
Yeah. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's 5-0. Item 7, K7, approved job description for food service worker prep chef. Need a motion? Okay, Lucy first and Virginia second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's 5-0. Item K8, approved site plan and materials previously provided for Fillmore Middle School. I need a motion. Virginia and Lucy.
Okay.
Any discussion?
This is the site plan that was put to.
Yes.
Last board.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, getting unanimous, 5-0. Approved certification of signatures, materials, and I need a motion.
So moved.
Second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
5-0. Item 10, approved first interim budget report, materials upon request. Okay, so we'll need a motion to approve it.
So moved.
Okay, Virginia, we got the second. Discussion?
Yes.
Dr. Bush.
Thank you. Both Jen and I are here to answer any questions you may have on that exciting technical report that looks like a huge tax return. But first I wanted to go through a brief presentation. If you recall, for a number of years we've been looking at a 3-year span. We've been looking to say, where are we going? Are we falling off the cliff? And we've been looking at use of federal ERA monies, federal jobs money, trying to build a bridge. And the board successfully crafted a bridge last year. And I want to go through and kind of measure where we are with last year's spending plan, which is what the first interim is. And if I can make this work. No, that doesn't look good. And then we want to review the first interim, which is statutorily what you're supposed to do. As you know, we adopt a budget, we have a first interim, we have a second interim, and we have unaudited actuals. We're at the first interim. First interims tend to be a little rosy, especially in past history. They tend to be a little rosy, and then around second interim, we find out what the governor did to us and where we're going. So we want to talk about our first interim and measure our plan. Where are we in our revenue and expenditures, because we do have some good news. And then we want to look at the multi-year projection. and look at how great the multi-year projection looks right now. And then we want to talk a little about why the ending balance could be changing. And discuss why the ending balance is probably not going to be as good as we thought it would be. And then we want to take a look at cash flow. As you know, we've been struggling with cash flow because the state has a way of balancing their budget by giving us IOUs. Over a third of the money we're supposed to get this year, they're going to give it to us next year. It's kind of like, give me a hamburger today and I'll gladly pay you on Tuesday. So that they've continued that, and since we adopted the budget, they've come up with a few more tricks that will pay you later. So we're going to talk about the need to borrow in order to cover not only our June payroll, but our May payroll. Okay. And then we're going to look at some key dates. Okay. Revenue. Revenue is smoking hot. We are looking good. Our enrollment's up. Sierra is blasting. We got more kids coming in. Our revenue limit from some technical, but mainly because of growth of an enrollment, up $189,000. That is an outstanding program, and the kids are coming. Okay, we even added another teacher. Okay, federal resources are up $1 million, but that's fake money. Okay. That is the federal jobs money that the board said we're not spending last year, we're going to spend it this year. So it appears as carryover. And we had some Title I carryover. So, but to our plan, it's $1 million up. State's down about 18,000.
So yes. Like that's one-time money, basically.
One time.
Not ongoing.
But the 189, that's a good. Okay. The 18,000 down, that's because the kids don't show up the way I predicted, really. That's class size reduction. They didn't come in the nice 20-kid packets. So as we load them up and calculate out class size reduction, it's off 18 grand. And local sources being up 346 is mainly carryover. And a little extra special ed money that showed up, which comes through as a pass-through there. So revenue, we're up $1 million to our spending plan. Okay. Expenditures, we load our salaries, and we hire people, and it shakes out. Certificated came in pretty close, $30,000 up. Classified seems way up, but I want to remind the board we had a lot of sites that didn't hire back their classified staff when we adopted the budget. If you recall, a lot of sites said, I might hire that library aide back, I might not. And their site budgets were kind of in limbo. So that's where a lot of that came out. Employee benefits, huge savings. Because instead of a 10% increase, we had a 5%. Also, we had an agreement with FUSD to change how we do benefits, and just how the employees self-selected their benefits, there was a savings. Okay, books and supplies and services, that's pretty much the carryover being budgeted out. Sites, categorical programs that they didn't spend last year, we give them back the money, and so that's the carryover being budgeted out. Our capital outlay. You may recall we had a flood, and we're running the insurance claim through there to fix the science building HVAC system. Plus, we had some extra carryover money that we put towards air conditioning to replace air conditioning in the high school office and at the middle school office, Cynthia's office, a few other offices. So we're that's why that's up to 200,000. But the majority is the science building. Expenditures are up 945,000 from where we adopted. So let's look at the ending balance. I've told the board before, the most important thing for you is the ending balance. Because when you don't have an ending balance, you're no longer the board. The state comes in. You need to have an ending balance. So we have an increase in the ending balance of $600,000. That's a good thing. We have an increase in the beginning balance of $529,000. That's money that was reverted back at the end of last year. But we're up 1.1 million.
It has nothing to do with reserves.
No, this is all falling into reserves. It's not your 3% reserve, but it's in excess.
Right.
Okay? So, let's take a look at the multi-year projection.
The audience does know that we are required to have a budget that is balanced this year, next year, and the following year. And I wish the state would do that, I wish the feds would do that. We may not be in this position, but we are required to do that.
And they did that. I get in trouble by saying it's Jerry Brown's funny stuff. But they passed a law, AB 114, that said you don't have to do a multi-year projection. Well, that was just for adopted budget. By first interim, you have to have a multi-year projection, and you can be qualified for positive. Okay. If we look at our revenues, they're looking very good. Keep in mind that we don't have any mid-year cuts in there. Now, everyone understands how we got here. We passed a proposition. Remember, Maldonado wanted all these deals, and one of the deals he says, you have a balanced budget by June 30th, or the legislature doesn't get paid. Last year was the first year that was in effect. And remember, Jerry Brown was very optimistic because we all were going to vote in a sales tax increase for an extra $10 billion in revenue. Only thing is, he did not kind of work through how he was going to get it through the Republican legislature. And they would not agree to put it to the vote, to the voters. So he didn't get his $10 billion tax increase. But the economy was growing. The economy was coming along, it's growing, and we were $6 billion up, $4 billion short. They had to cut $4 billion. And they get along so well in Sacramento, they couldn't come up with it, but they wanted to get paid. So they said revenues are up $4 billion next year. And Governor Brown said, I don't think so. So the governors, they went back and said, we're confident they'll be up, but if they're not up, we'll have trigger language that automatically has cuts. 0 to 1 billion, the state absorbs it. 1 to 2 billion, we hammer Health and Human Services and the UCs and CSUs. If you have kids in college, I'm sorry, because that tuition's going up. Then, if it's a $2 billion and $1, we'll take half of homes to school transportation. Current year, stuff we already spent, we'll take it. They just won't pay us for the second part of the year. Then, we'll prorate that to the next $4 billion on revenue limit, which is roughly 4% of our revenue limit, our general purpose money. And they were going to, the two entities that decide is the ledge analyst and the Department of Finance, our good buddies, you know, they're all pro-education, Department of Finance. So, ledge analyst has come out with their number, and it's a real shocker. They say we're 3.6 billion behind target. So, you know, they forecasted where they thought we'd be, and the legislature added 4 billion on it, didn't materialize. December 15th, we'll get the Department of Finance. And there's a lot of rumbling about politics that, you know, they don't want to do an election year, they don't want to do this. I've met the lady. She'll do it. Okay? She worked for Schwarzenegger, she works for Brown. She will, what the forecast is, the forecast is. The thing she has different than the ledge analyst is she has some more corporate tax receipts in, and she has the Black Friday sales tax. So how does that skew the forecast? So we're waiting to see possibility of mid-year cuts. And it has a COLA built in. You know, the econometrics say next year we're supposed to have a 3.1% COLA. and we're to use that to forecast. And we'll talk about the possibility of that in a little bit. So you can see this. Expenditures are growing. You can see certificated salaries take a bump because we can't continue to grow by 1% and not hire staff. So we're saying we're going to have to hire more staff in out years because we feel we're going, when we do our cohort mortality, it says we're growing. And if you go down in Piru, you can see homes being built. You go down by the bridges, they're building homes again. So we're starting to grow again. So we built in some growth. It's all going up. But this is the part that I'm really worried about. We're deficit spending current year by $323,000. We go up to 710, but then we curve and we go down. So the economy will start growing enough with the COLAs and stuff that we should have built our bridge, and it looks like we were coming out of the woods. Okay, if you look at the ending balance, we have a lot of money. And after 3 years, we'd have 1.1 million extra above our 3%. It sounds really good, right? And that's setting aside 1,181,858 for a mid-year cut. So let's go up and plug that in and take a look at what happens. $181,858. Then we have to make that a minus, don't we? Let's see. And this would become a 0. Having trouble.
That's why I don't do PowerPoint.
Okay, so the plan still works. The plan still worked. We'd have $13,000 at the end of 3 years. We'd still be solvent after 3 years, even if he steals all that money back from us, okay? So what we laid out works. However, you may have heard there's a structural imbalance with the state. And it's still there. The ledge analyst is saying we're $10 billion off for next year. And it's hard to track. Does that include the $4 billion you're going to steal this year? Because they said you need to take all that $3.6 billion back. So, and they're saying you're $10 billion off. They have a habit of tapping us for 40%. So, what happens? Are we going to get our COLA? And what happens if we don't get the COLA next year? All of a sudden, we drop down to 29,381. So we've lost a lot of revenue. And when we look out next year, we're $500,000 in the hole. In the third year out, we're 1.9 million in the hole. We don't get that COLA. If we get the mid-year cut and we don't get a COLA next year, we have a problem again. Nothing we haven't faced before, just don't know where we're going to cut. But this can swing so drastically. Now, the one thing about Governor Brown that most of the legislative and most of the analysts out there say, figure out the most logical thing to do and he'll do the opposite. So the logical thing to do would be cut us, so maybe he won't. But if he doesn't, if he does something like propose, because he came out today, I don't know, he's going to tax the rich people today. So if he writes into his budget, I'm going to get $8 billion more from taxing rich people, we're going to be where we were last year. Where we say, this is what the governor said, but do you believe it? And we're going to start making different budget scenarios, and we're going to have to pick a magic number where we're going to cut. You know, remember we had, if the budget comes in here, we're good. If it comes in here, these are the cuts. If it comes in here, it's cuts. And then remember Jeff's doomsday budget, where we just like wanted to leave our keys on the desk and walk out? Because I don't know. We may be in one of those scenarios again. Okay?
The new budget proposal will be made sometime in January.
Yes, I'll go through some key dates. We'll do that now, then I'll do cash flow. Our key dates, December 15th will be the Department of Finance. They're going to come out and say, this is how much we think you ought to cut. And then it'll be the worst between the two. Absent of any legislative resolution, and I would not be hopeful that those people could agree on anything, but if they were able to say, no, we're not going to cut schools, we're going to cut prisons, and pass it by February, we'd be okay. Most likely that won't happen. So since it's already law, that's the other thing. It's already law to cut it. So they don't have to take any action. They just have to point out whoever the least evil one was and said it's her fault for getting cut. So most likely December 15th we'll know if we're getting cut this year. January 15th, the governor comes out with his proposed budget for next year. Traditionally, that's a little grayer than May because they want to add money back in and maybe, buy some peace. But the past few years, because we're on this downhill slide, May hasn't been real rosy. May 15th, we'll have the governor's revised budget, and that's key to us because that's what the board bases their next year's operating budget on. Because by June 30th, you have to adopt a budget, regardless of what they do at the state. So those are our key dates. Now we need to talk a little bit about cash flow. Next item on the agenda is a resolution to extend or revise our prior resolution to borrow money. The reason is we're about 800,000 shy of where we thought we would need to be because of the deferrals, the added new deferrals. So we're asking to amend that so we can do a bridge trans like we did last year to get through and cover our May and June payroll. And is there any questions?
What you're saying is we don't have enough money to pay for May and June. We have to borrow money as a bridge loan, right? In order for us to make payroll because the deferral, cash is king. So what they did is they took all the cash. Now we have to go borrow in order for us to meet payroll. Right. Because they deferred our money into the future. So instead of allowing us to pay our bills on time, they're saying you go borrow money to pay your bills and we'll take your money as the deferrals to pay for what they've already spent. Right. So they're going to say they're going to pay us back later So what we have to do is borrow money in order to make our budget balance.
In the past, the state would do a RAN. We do trans, they do RANs. The state would do a RAN and borrow money. But what they're finding is school districts and local municipalities have better credit and can borrow at a lower rate than they can. So they push the debt off on us to borrow.
That's why it's so important when you talk about bond rating. You know, all you hear that about what your bond rating is going to go down, because as it goes down and you become unstable, you have to pay more to borrow money. Like you go for a loan. If your credit score is down, you pay more, or they won't even give you the money for a loan. It's the same thing here. If you're rated A, AA, AAA, you get the best rate. If you go down to a B, then you're looking at big trouble. So.
What are we? I think we're AA. I'll have to double check. We recently got our standards enforced. If we were in another state, we'd have better rating. But we're dependent upon California.
If we borrow this and somehow, I'm assuming there's a possibility that they could push it back even further, or would they would push further, then do we at that time, I mean, I know that's worst case scenario, but at the same time, where we're at now, anything's possible. I'm just, would we have to then just borrow more against that, or would they limit us now because we borrowed that?
No.
No? We would continue to borrow?
They would have a very difficult time changing current law on this fiscal year. This fiscal year has a apportionment cycle that says you're getting this money at these different times. And a bunch of it's coming in July. And I think a little bit in August. But that's already set in law. So what they do is they mess with next year. If they say we need all that money to pay off our debt from 11-12, then 12-13 will kick out even further. So we got in this mess is because they have a problem, they kick the can down the road, and then the next year they have to kick 2 cans down the road, and the year after that they kick 3 cans down the road, and it just builds and builds. But we get our 1 can, we get our 2 can, we get our 3 can, and then we don't know what's happening before.
State takes over.
State is the same. We're still, no one really knows what happens when the states go under.
Yeah.
So, we're good to borrow this money and pay it back. I haven't quite figured out cash flow for next year, and then that might be a different discussion. And then we'll borrow remember this is all short-term loans. So we're looking at getting some money in March that we're going to pay back in July. These are all short-term loans, cash flow loans. So next year, we'll be coming in the spring for a tran that we traditionally get a tran that shows up in July, and we have to pay it back when the income taxes come in, or I mean the property taxes. So we pay it back in January and in April, and we're done. And we're going to pay that part of our tran out, and then we're going to do our bridge loan over the fiscal year.
If foreclosures go up between January and June of this year, does that mean that the projections go even higher? Because they won't be getting tax monies.
They'll go down. Their revenue will go down.
Yeah, the revenue will go down. The debt goes up.
Correct. But property tax in this state isn't the big one. Property tax, after Prop 13, was capped at 1% of the property value. And so it's important, and we like it because it plays into our revenue limit. But as far as the state's concerned, they are looking at personal income and sales tax. So we need people working and buying things. That's what we're going for. They're working and buying things, then the tax system works here.
Further questions, board members?
For the question.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's 5-0. Item 11. Approve adoption of resolution number 11-12-06, authorizing an increase to the maximum amount of borrowing for funds for fiscal year 2011-12, and authorizing the issuance of sale of an additional series of 11-12 tax and revenue anticipation notes, trans, we talked about, through the California School Cash Reserve Program, and requesting the Board of Supervisors of the county to issue and sell said series of additional notes. I need a motion? Second? Second. Okay, Lucy, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 5-0. Okay, to item L12, Essential Standards Committee Report Card Task Force. Jan Warhol.
Earlier in the school year, we informed the board that we had formed a number of task forces, and that during the year, the board will be getting an update from those task forces. This is yet another one of these task forces, and it has to do with report card. And at this time, I'm going to call on Jan to give us an update on the report card task force, which she has been giving leadership to.
Good evening. We've been, first of all, before I go through the process and show you what you're being handed and talk to you about some examples, I want to first thank Michael Johnson, Connie Rollo, Mike Bush for sharing Lola with us, Carol Behringer, Chrissy, Diana, Scott, and we also had a team. John's here tonight. You were part of the team.
I was there.
You were. And this snowballed into a lot of people. It was a big, big task. And what I'm going to show you tonight and how we got to where we were, we've attempted this many times and there's been roadblocks and we've never gotten this far before. And it took Michael actually going to the county with Connie and interfacing, and a lot of work on Lola's part, and a lot of information from Carol, Chrissy, and everybody. It was a big job, and it's not done. It's out, and the excitement was that we finished it, that we were able to use it now for our first reporting period, and we'll be taking feedback because it needs to be refined, and it's a work in progress, but it is done, and we're in a contemporary situation with other districts. But how did we get there, and why are we going to standards-based? It's because, like on old report cards, and when you and I went to school, you would get a grade for reading, an A, a B, or a C. Well, on a standard-based report card, that reading grade could have 15 different skills. And so what this does is, on standards-based, each skill is measured individually. And so you get a more accurate, true reading of what the student is doing. You don't say, okay, he's reading and he's mastered 2 things, but he's a great student and he smiles every day and he comes to work. And so I'm going to give him a higher grade, okay? On a standards-based report card, it is skills, skills, and skills. You're mastering strictly the skill that's being assessed. And effort grades and how nice kids are and how they're doing their homework every day, all that's on a different area of the report card that we'll talk about. So it's giving you a more accurate rating of where kids are. Now, how did we get there? Each state has content standards, and there's lots of different standards, and last year we spent a whole year with okay. Now, who's an expert in how to make this better? Turn it. Just turn it. Oh, yeah, you know, I'm nervous, and I don't have one of these. Okay, so then, can we magnify it? Zoom in. Is there a zoom in button?
Circle button in the center.
Chrissy, can you come up there?
Oh wait, I got it. I got it. Okay, this is fun, like a camera. Okay, basically, these are, I'm showing you an example of 4th grade essential standards for language arts. So last year, for the whole year, all 4 elementary schools had representatives that worked in groups, I don't know, like monthly. They met and they picked out what were the essential standards for Fillmore, what they wanted to work on, that from looking at different tests, from different state standards, from different districts, what were our important essential standards. And so they picked out what should be done in the first trimester, what should be graded in the second trimester, and what should be graded in the third trimester. And so that is like our roadmap. That is what we followed. You've heard Scott talk, you've heard Chrissy talk about the pacing guide on how they're, how much time they're spending to get to different things, and then when they're teaching these things. And these are the standards that they need to master in each grade level. Okay, so for example, this is the 4th grade. In the first trimester, under reading, and you have a 4th grade report card, like reading is 1.4. You see there's 1.4, and then under the first trimester there's a 2.3 and a 3.2. But you're looking, right now there's a whole bunch of numbers under reading. The only ones you're assessing in the first trimester, the only ones you're assessing are the ones that are the first trimester on the essential standards. What you have on the report card are the essential standards for all 3 trimesters. But all you're responsible for are the ones right now for the first trimester. Okay, are we there so far? Okay, so this is where we started with the essential standards. Then meeting together, and what I'm going through with you, each elementary principal went through at a night meeting, an open parent meeting to come so parents could understand the new report card. And we went through this whole process. And the report cards obviously are in English and Spanish. So, now, how do we get to the grade that's on the report card, the 1, the 2, or the 3? There were rubrics that were created for each standard. So, for example, on standard for the first one, reading 1.4, you have a roadmap there on if the student is progressing and would get a 1, or are they making progress towards the standard, would they get a 2, or are they proficient working at grade level with a 3. And so that's how you get the measurement for each skill set. Does that make sense so far? Okay, so we had the rubrics for the first trimester for language arts and for math. Then the effort grades were used under like the learner responsibilities that were on the back, the participation for PE, and the science. Science was a grade, and so was social studies and English language. So these were the ways that we got to the report card. Now, how do the teachers make comments? For example, under English language arts, at the end of that, and at the end of mathematics, at the end of each subject, there's a drop down where you can pick up to 4 different pre-made comments in English and Spanish that are already inputted into the system. However, one of the things that we required is in this space here, the teachers can make a narrative. They can comment. And so there's pre-made comments or narratives that staff can make on anything they want to talk about. So does that make sense so far? Okay. I'm kind of drawing a blank. Chrissy, can you Is there some other stuff you think I should?
I think
Carol?
one of the points to this
Yeah.
is the elementary separated out standards from everything else. They're only looking at standards on the front part of that report card. On the back, they've put everything else, you know, your citizenship, your homework, everything else is in a different spot.
We wanted it away from assessing the standards. That was pretty much it.
We only want to grade on the standards.
Standards, exactly.
Using the same scale again?
The effort grades, which are on the front, learner responsibilities, and we couldn't have them move to the back because of the way the fields go or whatever, it's a technology thing. But the learner responsibilities, the EGSUN, those are how things are measured on the back under
So that's what it would be.
Yes, exactly.
And we went from a 5-point scale, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, to a 3-point scale, which has been a little difficult because, again, one thing with the rubrics is that, and you can see that some standards have several components. They have to know certain standards, be able to identify, and maybe be able to analyze them. With the 3-point scale that we're using, you cannot give a child a 3 unless they've mastered all part of the standard. So one concern was that parents who, it's a new concept to parents because some students who have had straight A's in the past, we're assessing standards mastery. So they may just have 2 parts of the standard which they can only receive a 2, which means they're progressing towards standard. So we made sure that we did a lot of staff development amongst all our teachers to look at the standard and make sure that if they gave a 3, that meant that 1, they had evidence that the student had mastered all components of the standard. If not, if they had mastered 2 out of the 3 components or partial mastery of the standard, they could assign a 2. If the student was even missing foundational skills to be able to master the standard, that would be a 1. So that's pretty different than our previous point scaling. So from a 5 to a 3 point.
And we didn't want 5 because we didn't want people equating A, B, C, D, E, you know, or A, B, C, D, F. We wanted to get away from that. And so we looked at many different models, and the county had the Ventura template in their system, and what we did was kind of modify different components of it that were unique to what we wanted here in Fillmore. I mean, this right now we're taking feedback from our teachers, and there'll be a meeting in January. But the exciting thing is that we got this far. There weren't any roadblocks. We actually got this far, and the rubrics that we were working on are actually like from Visalia that already had a standards base in 2002. A lot of the districts and most of them around us are doing standards based.
And again, we had to do parent ed on, the standards are end of year goals. So basically, if a child earned all 3 on all of the standards, that would mean that they were technically ready for the next grade level because they've mastered all of the state standards for that grade level. So the parent ed went into every parent-student teacher conference was that parents had to remember that these standards, the report card that they're seeing, are end-of-year goals. So basically, your report card is a progress report towards mastery of end-of-the-year goals, which is very different than giving a test, getting a 90%, averaging it into averaging several number of tests, and giving a A, B, C, D grade. So these are progress reports. So very important that end of year report card is going to be very important to not only teachers, parents, but our district to determine how many students mastered the year-long objectives.
And where you see here trimester 1, next time there'll be another column next to it that's trimester 2 and then trimester 3. So at the end of the year, you will have 3 trimesters for you to look at as a record.
With a more accurate description of each child.
Yes, it
More
is.
specific.
The
More
neat
specific.
thing is, regardless of where the child goes, from class to class in the school system, but to another school district, it defines a student a lot more accurately.
Definitely.
Yeah, and there was a first grade standard that we spent a lot of time discussing. A first trimester was actually a math standard, and it was able to compute sums to 20, addition and subtraction by memory. So in first grade, they started with addition sums to 20, and then they move into subtraction second trimester. So technically a student couldn't earn a 3 for that standard unless they can add, subtract, sums to 20 by memory. So if they're still drawing tally marks or pictures to add sums to 20, that would be a 2. So that has been different, and it's been good because teachers really have to get into their standard and read the standard to be able to assess.
How do you show a parent evidence that they've mastered that skill?
I can speak for my school. What I did, I required all of my teachers to have portfolios with examples of work that exemplified the standard. So they had file folders and they would pull out, here's a writing example, here's an example on long division. So they had file folders because one of the things that we did was emphasize to teachers that as a parent myself of 2 children that attend elementary school, I want to know why. And if my child did not earn 3s in my eyes, and earn 2s, I want to know specific skills that they don't have. So we had file folders, but I think second trimester we're going to be much more ready for this sort of accountability system because we have the report card, we know the standards, and we know conference time is coming with March. So we have time now, we have a whole trimester to develop those portfolios. Because we started this process 3/4 of the way into the trimester, it was just a learning experience. But I think all of our teachers did a really good job of articulating to parents. I know one of the concerns teachers had was that we would have tons of parents upset. And we made sure, I expressed to my staff, if you have the evidence, absolutely, we're prepared and you have our backing because this is something that all elementary schools in the state of California are moving towards. And heard positive things from parents. What I've heard from teachers was that the parents who are involved, who ask questions with the old report card, ask questions with this report card. The parents that we struggle to get them involved, they struggled with asking questions about this report card. So again, like Jan said, we still need to do parent ed, but I think as we refine the process, it holds all students to the same standard. Like Jan said, it takes out homework completion, it takes out that student who just tries his or her hardest and is that teacher pleaser. It really takes out all of those factors and looks at academics, which we have an obligation to report to parents whether or not their child is mastering grade level standards. That's basically the bottom line.
And Tony, as far as parent ed, I know that you've been very concerned before about English learners, parents, and when we had our parent night and Christy was there, we had about 45 parents, and I had a translator there, and about 35 of them were parents of English learners, and which was really, really nice. It was really helpful. We had one of our teachers there translating, and so that was a really good evening. And again, to back up Chrissy with the portfolio, this is the type of card that warrants artifacts to show the parents.
They talked about the Common Core standards that all the states in the nation go into so they can have a common comparison of what you're really achieving. It's coming. 26 states have already adopted it. It's coming. It's going to be coming fast. And part of what we're trying to, like I said, we're going to be ahead of the train. We don't want to be trying to jump on it when it's moving. And so our kids, this is all about our kids. Are we really going to prepare our kids for the future, or are we going to let the future pass a lot of our kids as we try to catch up? And our goal is to make sure that we're ahead of that, so all our kids are on the train, not trying to catch it. So I congratulate, you're going to continue, but these Common Core standards are coming, and I think now they can make comparisons that make sense between us and Texas and Alabama and Iowa and Nebraska. Right now, they all have different standards, they'll have different tests, and so when they say they score higher than us, who knows what they're teaching? Maybe their standards are lower than ours. So we'll finally be able to have a common set of standards. The ground floor will look the same for everybody, and that's how you move up.
More performance-based too.
Are there any other questions? Because I know this team will be back again after the second trimester to come back and show you, what's been refined, and then you'll have another column there to look at also and see how it worked through the second trimester.
Jan, thank you so much, and also thank the rest of.
It was a team effort. It was a team effort.
What I'd like to do is sum it up for you, because it's so crucial that we understand the significance of what you have in front of you. Often when you walk into a classroom, you ask the teacher, what is the curriculum? It's not this district being an exception. It's a common response. They will give you the textbook. That's the curriculum. That is not the curriculum. The curriculum is the standard. That is what the state expects our students to know and our students to be able to do. So if that is the curriculum, then there is a need to make sure that there is an alignment. And every district that has made a difference in student performance has done it because they've aligned the curriculum. Now, where do they align it? You have the standards. Then the next step is to make sure that you have pacing guides that would allow you to map out the standards. And Chrissy headed that particular task force, and she reported to you about a month ago. Part of the pacing guide is make sure that you measure what you said you're going to teach. And therefore Scott came to you and presented a calendar of assessment that they worked out. Now, the assessment is not over, because ultimately you have to translate that into quantifiable data that shows that teachers indeed have achieved the standards. Now you have the report card. So that's how it flows. You now can say, at least at the elementary level, you have alignment. Because if you have kids being measured according to these standards, the teachers then will have to teach the curriculum as stated by the state in terms of all of our standards, K-5. It is a huge cultural shift. It is a huge mental shift in terms of the district. So that which has been achieved is no light matter. And for the teachers to embrace this is something that needs to be recognized and acknowledged, because it really is affecting how they do business in the classroom. And you know it, especially three of you being former teachers, that the classroom is your domain. And you keep that classroom sacred. And someone going into that classroom and affecting the way you do business, which this has done, is not an easy shift. And so they have to be congratulated. It has not been an easy cog, so to speak, to put together and make sure it works. Furthermore, I have never seen a group of administrators who have worked so closely to make this happen. And those are your elementary principals. It never would have gone this far if any one of them fell out of the ranks. They lined up and they said, guys, this is how we're going to do it. Let's get together and make sure we're all on board. And every step of the way, they were on board. And they worked with their staff. If there were issues that came up, they dealt with it. They gathered together. How often have you been meeting now?
We try, well, our goal is every week, about every other week.
That is significant, though. That is very, very significant. And when they meet, they talk about what they need to talk about, and that's curriculum. How can we make things better for the kids?
And what Michael said, the benefit of all this work are the kids. I guarantee you, they are going to be the ones that benefit from the hard work that we adults do for them. They don't even know what we're doing, but they will reap the benefits of what we're planning out for them. I can almost guarantee you that's going to happen. So when Michael says he congratulates everybody, and I mean everybody, for being a part of making this happen, our kids will be better as we start to unravel all the stuff. We start to really put it into motion. What becomes a part of Fillmore. It is not anything new. It's a part of the way we do business. When you come to Fillmore, we're going to guarantee that your child gets a quality education that's comparable to anybody out there. That there's nobody out there that's going to give as good an education as we're going to give. And we're going to be compared, and we accept that challenge. I accept that challenge. We accept that challenge. We have great kids in this community, and I think we haven't tapped into the potential yet. And I think you will see, you that have young children, will see the benefits of what all the adults are doing today for your child. And I really do want to thank everybody that works so hard. It is not easy to make that cultural shift and to change the way you do business. So Jan, are you done?
I'm done.
Okay, I want to make an announcement. That's okay, the board president. You know, I came to the district back in July and I met with all the administrators here. All of them, and had an opportunity to discuss and talk to people. And the person that I thought had the most, not the most, but had really a feeling tone of excellence in being able to persuade people to do things, whether it's get money for the grant, whether it's go out to the state, whatever it is. Who have really good people skills and able to do that. And remember I talked about what luck is? It's where opportunity meets preparedness. Well, I got a letter today from one of my administrators who said, I have been preparing and the opportunity came by, and I'm going to take the opportunity because it may not come by again. And I'm going to take it now. I was going to do something later on, but I can't bypass this. So one of our, in my opinion, a class principal, Jan, is going to retire at the end of this month and become the Chief Executive Officer for the Boys and Girls Club of Santa Clara Valley. So I want to just thank you. I mean, I can't think of a better person in that position for our kids. What's good about that is she's going to be housed in Santa Paula, but she's in charge of Fillmore and Santa Paula, Boys and Girls Club. So we will still be in contact, and together, because she knows what our goal and vision entitles, she will be able to couple. This is where you talk about community that's able to access everything, and we're going to be able to do that. And so I just wanted to thank you for your many years of, I don't want to say how many, but your many years of dedication for children, not just here but in other places. And I think that we expect bigger things from you as a CEO. Now you feel how it's like to have a board. It's a little bit different. You have to, but you have great people skills, so I don't see you having any trouble at all with that. So I just wanted to let the board know and the audience know how much we appreciate your hard work. And you will be coming back, so we'll make sure you come back and do some presentations for us where you're leading the Boys and Girls Club in Santa Clara Valley. Thank you very much for your time. Any comments? It was sudden. I was like, today, I'm gonna walk in and bingo, I get this thing, and so I had her come in and we talked. She told me what her goals were and what she wanted to do. And I was really happy for her, that she's going to be doing things that she really likes to do. That's what she do.
Board members?
I just want to thank you, Jan. I remember when you first came here and, you know, had all these ideas, and I can remember riding on some kind of a bus in Santa Barbara looking at Christmas lights with a bunch of other people. I couldn't even see. I didn't know. I couldn't see. But it didn't stop there. It continues, so thank you very much.
No, just the same, Jan. I know that it's always, you're one of the ones that really stresses the positive in our schools. And every week there's something in the paper about your school. And I really appreciate the program that you had, your character counts, because I really feel that building those character traits that the students need is what makes them successful students. So thank you again for the service to our district and what you've done for our kids.
And I'll never forget, you fired me one night.
Well, you know,
I was selling tickets.
I invite you to sell tickets and you never really get to the booth. You talk to everybody. Thank goodness your daughter comes for reinforcements each year. No, thank you, everybody. And the thing that I'm excited about the most is continuing with a collaboration with the district, because I'm still going to service our kids, and I'm excited about raising money and doing exciting projects and just being able to grow our Boys and Girls Club here in Fillmore. And working with the district, it's a win-win, because you know, we're all together here in the history of it. There are kids, and I'm just really excited. It is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. And I thank the board, because I know, I apologize that it's mid-year, but nobody waits. And so it was a perfect time, and I think it will make a difference here.
So you're going to come back at T2?
Come back at T2?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I tried this one. Get it in there. Didn't work, did it? Shucks. Okay.
So thank you again.
Thanks.
Did you want to say
Yes,
something,
I did.
Virginia?
I didn't get a chance in there. Just Jan, I just as he said, happened today. This is done to hear it, but it was so you. I mean, that position is so, I mean, who better than Jan Marholen than fundraising? Are you kidding me? This woman just does it. And, you know, we work together on different projects every year with the Halloween Carnival, which I hope they keep up.
You know, 3 people have said that today. Carnival, and,
because it went away at one point in time.
No, we will work
brought
on
it back and built it up.
collaboration.
That's why.
It would be a partnership between Boys and Girls Club.
Yeah,
You know,
it
yes,
probably will.
we're just expanding.
It probably will. But I expect all of you at Taste of the Valley. That's my new little project.
Okay.
That's what I inherited.
I keep in touch. I do want to keep that going.
It will.
So I wish you the best of luck, and I just
Thank you.
You're great. Your personality is just like no other. Wonderful lady.
Thank you so much. Oh, did you want to say something?
Yeah. No, I just want to just echo what everyone else has said, but just a couple, I'll make it short, so. Thank you for NASA. I mean, I know you put a lot of work into that. It did a lot of neat things for a lot of our kids. Some of our teachers that got involved, really got them energized, motivated. Maybe I'll see you in Maui. Thanks a lot, Jen.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jan, very much. And best of luck, and I know you'll do great in your new career. Thank you. Okay, and that's it. For us now, we're on to item M, future meetings. As usual, 5:30 closed sessions, followed by 6:15 regular meetings on January 17th, February 7th, March 6th, and March 20th. Anybody not going to make any of those meetings at this point? Oh, you didn't. I don't know. You're going to do that. Okay, so, not, then we're going to, yes, we'll have to do that. So, since we moved item E after item L, we'll go ahead and report out the board. Let's see. Right, so we'll get those.
And the one exposure.
So, right, so we Right, we haven't had a motion or a vote on these, so we need to make sure we do that. Okay, so I need a motion for the readmits. First, let's do that one first. And you can read that off? You read it off? Okay.
I move to accept the recommendation from the commission for the following students, with student number 103, FHS 103095, FMS 103244, and SHS 101743.
There's one on the back.
Oh, that's right. Sorry. And we have the site 106540. And I just need to see here to following the recommendation given by right.
I need a second for that.
Second.
Okay, Dave, thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Oh, it's 5-0, so it's good. It's 5-0. We don't have to take a roll call, it's 5-0. Okay, and then the next one is the expulsion. I need a motion on the expulsion.
So move.
Okay, to accept
To accept staff recommendation to expel student number 12-04.
Okay, and the second one, any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Dave Watt, 5-0 also. Great, then on to item N, board closing comments and agenda building. Board members, did you want to expand on any of the meetings that we had?
Well, I'd like to openly thank Chrissy and Todd. Last spring, both of them approached myself and my wife, and we're talking about our school district and as it was compared to other school districts like us and some of the things that other districts were doing to improve student performance. And basically, that resulted in the formation of the Alternative Governance Board, which I feel very strongly about, as well as my colleagues here. And this week at the conference, I had the opportunity to listen to representatives from the Sanger district, which is a little southeast of Fresno, up in the Central Valley, and talk to them a little bit about, what they were doing and the results they got. And they invited me up there anytime any of us, and so they would even come down here. They were just really very good about it. And he also listed a bunch of other districts that are doing similar things that are, it's just like we're kind of jumping on and grabbing the tail end of the train as it's going by. But they also saw a need, to do something, about their student performance at their schools and stuff, and that's what we all did, was jump on that wagon. And anyway, so I want to thank both of you for really kind of being responsible for that in a sense.
Tony, any closing comments?
Well, I think what we're doing here is creating call it a cultural change, but it's also a paradigm shift. And I would just like to see it happen in the high school. Everything we're hearing, everything we're seeing from people like Chrissy and Jan and Scott and Diana, and what happened with Alan at the middle school. I just want to see that energy being expanded to the high school, and seeing the shifts take place there. As far as, again, we're talking about the report card, we're talking about the report card being standards based, we're talking about accountability, I asked that question purposely, and I'm glad Chrissy took it on when I asked, the evidence, where's the evidence? Or if a parent's asking for the evidence, you got the portfolios, and what better evidence than those portfolios? And at the same time, the idea that teachers are going to take responsibility for what the kids are learning. That's the biggie right there. And we're doing it at the elementary level. Now we've got to push it up to the high school level.
Any closing comments?
One of the things, I know that I went to one of the meetings on high school athletics, and I know that one of the things I really wanted to stress to parents is that There's all this information on the CIF website for parents and of course for coaches. But they even have little courses that you can take, a lot of information regarding identifying symptoms of concussion, because they've had a lot of students injured in that way. And also the fact that a lot of the students are taking those energy drinks, like Red Bull and what is it, Monster, those, and how it can affect the kids, and the fact that there were 4 students who, in either San Diego County, I think it was, that had close calls, and that either they're taking medication for one reason or another, and then combined with all the drinks that they're taking, it's pretty dangerous. But all of that information is on the CIF website. So if you have students who play sports, it also goes through all their bylaws. And I know a lot of you attend games and you have students that are athletes. I think it's very valuable for you to see that. And then I also wanted to personally thank Diana Avidas and all of the Pyru staff and the community, because they had their 3rd annual Thanksgiving feast, and Tony and I took advantage of that. And it was just great, you know, seeing the kids, the staff, the community, parents, everybody coming together. And it was so well organized, and the food was outstanding. So please tell your staff, Sherry and her crew, how great it was, and we appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for listening to Lucy and I about our own personal experiences.
Virginia, did you have any closing
You know what?
comments?
I have no closing comments.
Okay, neither do I, so with that, I'll take a motion to adjourn. Senator,
Are we going to close session?
I don't believe so, I think we're done.
No, we're done. Okay.
Yeah, okay, so we've got a first and a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, it's 5-0, we're adjourned.
Jan?